Hi everyone, this is Mrs. Anderson. This is Chapter 15, Section 2, the Spanish and Portuguese Americas. Now that the conquistadors have taken over, Spain and Portugal will need to run these colonies, and this is how they do it. The essential questions explain how Spain ruled its empire in the Americas, analyze the major features of Spanish colonial society and culture, and describe how Portugal and other European nations challenged Spanish power. These are the terms and people that you should remember. Once again, I'm going to ask you to make flashcards out of these terms. Please attempt to come up with 3 distinct things about each one so that you can use them to study for the final. How did Spain and Portugal build colonies in the Americas? Spanish settlers and missionaries followed the conquistadors to the new empire in the Americas. Remember, God, glory, gold. Very important now that we have government as well as establish the church. They establish colonies and impose their will by force, and a new culture will emerge, cultural diffusion. Spain controlled a huge empire by the mid-1500s. Spain divided its conquered lands in the Americas into 4 provinces. The king appointed viceroys to rule in the provinces and established the Council of the Indies to monitor them, make sure no viceroy took on too much power. The Council of the Indies was located in Spain. This might not necessarily be a good idea, only because they might not know exactly what's happening in the colonies, and it will take a long time for information to get to and from the colonies to the mother country. One of Spain's main goals in the Americas was to spread Christianity. As a result, church leaders shared authority with royal officials. Missionaries baptized thousands of Native Americans and worked to turn new converts into loyal subjects of Spain. So we are combining government and religion. Please remember that the Native Americans might have turned to Christianity as a way to express the reason why their civilization was taken over by the Europeans. Maybe the European gods were more powerful, so therefore they changed to Christianity. Spain also built churches, taught the Spanish language, and introduced European clothing and crafts, so cultural diffusion. Spain closely controlled trade throughout its empire. Economic policy will be mercantilism, meaning everything for the betterment of the mother country. The colonies were not allowed to make their own products and sell them themselves. Colonists could export raw material only to Spain. They couldn't use this raw material to make anything themselves. They could buy only Spanish manufactured goods, and trade with other European nations was forbidden by law. So mercantilism, everything for the betterment of the mother country. Spanish planters introduced sugar cane to the West Indies. It was introduced on Columbus's second voyage, and the sugar industry soon became highly profitable. Sugar plantations required a large number of workers. The encomienda system will be established. Encomienda means the right to demand labor or tribute. The Spanish could force Native Americans to work in mines and on plantations. Not necessarily slave labor, but really close. Disease, starvation, and brutal conditions contributed to a sharp decline in the Native American population. And here is a chart demonstrating that. A Spanish priest named Bartolomé de las Casas condemned the encomienda system. He did not like the mistreatment of Native Americans. In 1542, Spain passed the new laws of the Indies, which forbade enslavement of Native Americans. However, many natives were still forced to become peons or workers forced to labor to pay off debts. The way the peon system worked, landlords would charge the natives for anything that they needed to work the land, any supplies, any shovels, things like that, seed, and they would always make sure that the peons had higher debt than they actually made from their labor, so that they were always in debt and they could never get out of working for the landlords. Las suggested that Spain fill the labor shortage by importing workers from Africa who had needed skills and were immune to tropical diseases. He figured that the Africans would be used to the climate and they would know how to work on plantations. He didn't realize that he was about to begin the slave trade of Africans into the Americas. The Spanish first brought Africans to the Americas in the 1530s. Millions were forced to work as slaves in the fields, in mines, and in the households of landowners. Las will regret that he had this suggestion. He didn't realize he was starting the slave trade in America. I'm not really sure how he didn't realize that was going to happen. European, African, and Native American cultures eventually blended together to form a distinct culture in the Spanish colonies. Cultural diffusion, we'll talk about that. Cultural blending changed people's lives in the Americas. Food, religion, clothing, dance, songs, styles of building, and farming methods were all part of this exchange, and there will be a new social hierarchy. The social hierarchy is as follows. The Peninsulares were people born in Spain. They were born on the Iberian Peninsula. Creoles were American-born descendants of Spanish settlers, not as important as people born in Spain. Mestizos were Native American and European descent, and mulattoes were people of African and European descent. Please notice that as long as you had some European descent in you, you were higher up in the social classes. Native American and Africans who did not have any European descent at all are at the very bottom. Spanish settlers lived in towns and cities and established universities. The cities were lively centers of government, commerce, and cultural expression, and they were set up just like a European city would be. Mexico City, where Tenochtitlan was, became the largest Spanish-speaking city in the world by 1550, and the University of Mexico, which was established in 1551, was the first university in the Americas. Harvard is the first university in North America, being established in 1636, but the University of Mexico was the absolute first in the Americas. Portugal claimed an empire in the east part of South America. They named this land Brazil. Remember the Treaty of Tordesillas and the line of demarcation gave Portugal Brazil. In the 1530s, Portugal began issuing grants of land in Brazil to nobles. In return, nobles agreed to develop the land and share profits with the crown. Initially, they are looking for silver and gold in Brazil the way the Spanish had found it in Mexico and Peru. Unfortunately, they only looked along the coast and didn't find any. There is actually silver and gold, but farther in Brazil, not in as large quantities as in Mexico and Peru. However, it is there. To begin with, though, early settlers will cut down and export Brazil wood, which was used to produce a valuable dye. They will make money off of this. Also, landowners will turn to plantation agriculture, planting sugarcane, and also they'll make money through cattle ranching. Brazil depended on forced labor, first from Native Americans and then from the enslaved Africans. In time, a Brazilian culture emerged that blended Portuguese, Native American, and African elements, cultural diffusion. Other nations grew jealous of Spain and Portugal's wealth and power in the Americas. Smugglers traded illegally with Spanish and Portuguese colonists. Remember mercantilism, colonies were only supposed to trade with the mother country. English, French, and Dutch pirates, called privateers, plundered treasure ships. Some operated with approval of their governments. This is especially true of Queen Elizabeth I of England. Some famous privateers are Sir Francis Drake and Sir Walter Raleigh. European explorers continued to sail the coasts of the Americas, hunting for riches and a northwest passage to Asia.